Hi guys, welcome back to Gardening with Creations by DX & Co. Today I thought we'd do a little bit of a garden tour. I don't typically do garden tours that often because, let's be honest, not everybody likes to see everybody else's garden. But I figured I'd do one today because who doesn't like to show off their garden, right? As well as I wanted to kind of show you, it's been a weird year, so I wanted to show you how my garden's doing. I've seen a lot of people who are facing a lot of challenges in their garden this year because of the extreme heat in a lot of areas, not so much rainfall this year. And let me show you what I'm doing to kind of combat some of those things and give you a tour about all the stunted growth that I had to begin with, and now where we're at today is July 7th. So let's get started. So as you can see, as we're walking in here, we've made a lot of progress on the garden. Garden gate is up, the archway is up, taking it just one step at a time. I've been working on these things since spring. I've got some solar lights on my archway. Should be a video coming out on that soon. Sponsored solar lights, really cool. And then my archway here will start there, is where I am currently trellising my grapevine. If you haven't seen the video on how to get the store-bought grapevine started, go ahead and check that out. But you can see it is doing well, taking off, and I've kind of helped it along the way start to trellis, but it is actually climbing on its own and doing very well. And then let's go take it. I've got all these tarps recently laid down. I'm not quite finished with it yet. We'll start in this corner. So you know, a lot of people say, oh, all YouTubers have perfect gardens. No, I don't. Look at this hot mess going on over here. This is my corn area. Yes, I do have another tarp to lay down here. I'm using tarps because I eventually want to do something a little bit nicer with it. But for now, tarps just help keep all this kind of mess at bay. And I've got a little makeshift fence going on here for now. We're eventually doing a full-on privacy fence, and I don't want to do this last part until we get the privacy fence around there. Corn's doing well, 2 different varieties. I didn't get them all to take, guys, unfortunately. We all make mistakes. I only got 3 of one kind to germinate and another one there. I didn't direct sow after that. Then let's check this out. Got some volunteer green beans happening there. My pumpkins that I actually grew indoors from seed. This one here is a giant Atlantic and a regular jack-o'-lantern variety, and they're hanging on, but they're not growing. They're just not doing well. There's a little bit of shade in this area, but due to the heat and just overall the soil probably needs to be replenished a bit. These ones they're not taking off. They're just so stunted. However, I got some volunteer ones here. Those would probably, I don't even know what variety of pumpkin they will be, but they are actually just volunteer ones that happened, and I've kind of let them be. These ones here are the short and stumpy, like kind of just pie pumpkins there that I did grow from seed this year, and they're doing very well in this spot. I think it's just the difference in sun, really, honestly. Green beans here are doing well, trellising nicely. A lot of these are actually a mix of seeded and volunteer that have just kind of done really well. And then we also have here some cherry tomatoes that I chose honestly not to plant. I did grow them from seed and couldn't find anybody to give them away, but I decided to go with a different variety of tomato. And I've left them in their pots, and I've left them to die basically, and they just don't give up. See that? They're just, gotta love it. Even laying on its side, it's shooting off new shoots, and they're still growing. I don't water these, but you know, the sprinkler does water them, and I'll explain that in a minute as well. All right, so here's my compost pile. I need to turn it, as you can see. I have been using all of this compost in my beds, and you can see it just didn't get hot enough, if you will, to kill all the seeds. Look at all of these volunteer tomatoes, and then some more volunteer tomatoes. All of these popped up within the last week and a half, and look how big they are. Just super thick stalks. I don't know what variety, I'm guessing cherry tomatoes. And then in amongst them is a massive pumpkin plant that just, you know, that goes to show two things. One, compost is best for your plants. I mean, look at the amazing growth in like 2 weeks without touching it, right? And two, you need to turn your compost so it gets hot enough to burn your seeds. But, and something I just didn't do much of. Another thing that really helps heat up your compost pile is grass clippings. And I don't save mine enough and turn them in because I don't have a collector. But I did actually save some. That's what all this dark brown stuff is, but I didn't turn it in, so shame on me. All right, let's talk about the greenhouse right behind me. As you can see, this area is kind of a dead space for me, but I do keep a sprinkler there. And then the greenhouse, as you can see, I actually have a window popped out of my greenhouse. I don't use the shade cloth on my greenhouse. I'll take you inside and show you. But a lot of people question, how do you cool down your greenhouse? I literally just pop out windows as I need to. But you can see, look at that massive amount of carrots that I started that are just thriving, all those green tops the bearded dragon loves. Let me take you inside and show you a little bit more. So as the summer progresses, I open the door. I always keep all of the windows open in the greenhouse. This is a Harbor Freight 16 by 8. It's 6 by 8. Sorry, excuse me. 16 by 6. It's two 6 by 8s put together. And you can see I need to do a little bit of cleanup in here, showing you guys my messy stuff even on YouTube, right? So I've got some volunteer dill I've just kind of let grow in, and it even fell over in my pathway. I just kind of step over it. Still use it. I have never watered this dill. It's still doing great. Just from the rainwater and stuff coming underneath the greenhouse and watering the roots there. I have another volunteer dill, as you can see right here, just in the bed, automatically came up. I'm a big proponent of letting volunteer plants go when I can, especially if there's something I need to use. Some radishes kind of died out, just I was letting go to seed on purpose, so that's okay that they died out. I'm kind of hoping they fall and grow me some more radishes. My carrots are doing extremely well here. Let me take you in and show you. And there you go, just no really tops yet. They're a bit crowded, so I'm not going to get a full source of carrots from some of them, but some of them I will. I've already pulled a couple and just had some lovely variety of carrots. I actually have 3 different varieties in this area here. But the tops are actually really good for the bearded dragons, so that's one of the reasons. Also, all of this food is also the bearded dragons. And you can see even, I just haven't been out here in a couple of days and something is absolutely decimating them. There's the culprits right there. You see them? Caught in the act. So those green worms right on top, that's what you're looking for when you start to see these type of holes in your plant. They are a moth of some sort, I believe. You can tell by the poop that they leave behind on there. See that right there? It's all the poop. So those are your other dead giveaways. So I'm going to have to spend some time here in the greenhouse and clean those up. Obviously, I don't mind that they're eating that right now. That means they're not eating anything else. But that means I can't feed it to my bearded dragon unless I make sure those are cleaned up. There's still good leaves on there. Just have to wash them off before I feed them to my bearded dragon. Other than that, there's really nothing else going on in the greenhouse. It's just storage. And got some cool new decorations for the fence that I got for Father's Day. I just have not had a chance to put them up yet because we went out of town and then been building a fence since. So, all right, let's see. Cucumber plants, look at how full they are. There's actually 4 different plants there. This particular variety is the Pickler variety. I have not gotten any cucumbers off of this one in particular yet. However, there are certainly fruit on this here, right? You can see, let's see if I can get you in closer. There we go. There is fruit there, and so I know it's doing well. I had a problem getting these to actually climb, so I took a wire because I couldn't find my string, and I knew I needed to get them up. So I took a wire, and then I used the clips for the fruit clips there that you use with the string. And if you haven't seen that trellising video on the tomatoes, check that out. I'll leave a link in the description and at the end. And I just use that so I can start trellising these up and try to get these plants off the ground. I am going to do a pruning cucumbers video. I know that sounds weird, but it's how you keep the plants tame and where you want it and focusing on the fruit. Most people would say, don't prune your cucumbers, that's weird. I think it's weirder to just let them go everywhere and not be able to find the fruit. So this is definitely a awesome so far. There's a lot of cucumbers on there. Like I said, that's the Pickler variety, and I'm gonna come back to these in a second. And then so over here, just doing a lot better, ironically, even growing through the neighbor's fence, which I need to get a hold of those and get them trellising up where I want them. This is the Burpee Hybrid variety, which we've had in the past. We've got a 24-hour pickler video on these. They're absolutely excellent, great tasting cucumber. If you haven't tried those in the past, definitely check those out. Again, there's 4 plants in this tiny little section, and they are doing really well. And so right next to that, a bunch of volunteer dill again. Need all that dill to make pickles, right? So, all right, let's start over here. This, in this same bed, this bed is just on the outside of my greenhouse. A little shallow. I think I'll build it up one more layer for next year. But you can see I just put fresh mulch down. If you haven't checked out how I got that fresh mulch, get that video. This one right here is a red bell pepper. As you can see right now, we have some excellent bell pepper fruit on there. They're green. Most bell peppers are green before they turn a different color. That's not always true, but it's mostly true. And this one in particular, if you guys remember, is my single seed challenge. So there you have it, my single seed challenge for 2022. That pepper that I started as a single seed is the only one I have in my garden of this variety, is right here and just doing phenomenal, as you can see. Now you can see I have my pepper in cages. I actually like to grow my peppers in cages. Not everybody feels that way. I think it helps support the fruit, the weight of it, and support the stalk. So I've always grown my peppers in cages. I do not grow my tomatoes in cages, but I like to grow my peppers in cages. Here right next to it is a regular mixed bell pepper variety. It's a hybrid variety that I've grown from seed, and it's not doing as well. But I don't know if you guys remember an earlier video. Some weeds in there, I like to weed as I go. And from an earlier video that my peppers, all except for my, funny enough, single seed one, had some issues with some stunted growth and some curly leaf disease. And so I topped them. And so we're definitely getting lots of buds, as you can see on there probably. Let me zoom in. Lots of buds all over. So we'll be getting some bell peppers soon, but right now we have not gotten any serious bell peppers. Same variety here, doing really well as well, but we still haven't gotten any fruit on those. Some excellent buds, no fruit just yet. And so many shoots even at the bottom here, just taken off because we did top this one, so you can see in the middle. So a lot bushier plants, but not as much fruit yet. So takes a little longer. Great for long growing seasons like the south. Up north, topping pepper plants can be a bit dangerous because, like I said, it does take a little bit longer to get fruit. So this is a Greek Peppercini variety, and you can see we've got some peppercinis going right there. One thing you might not know about peppercinis is, especially the Greek variety, they're not actually hot peppers. So if I were to pick this and eat it, it's actually kind of bland. So it's actually the pickling part of it that kind of makes them a little spicy that you put on your salad, so on and so forth. But what I like to do with these variety, actually leave them alone. They will eventually turn red, and when they turn red, they're absolutely sweet and very, very delicious. So if you're not going to be pickling them, that's the best way to go about it. Another one of those ones here, and that one you can see has got some grapefruit on it. These are very bushy as well because they were topped. This one here is a yellow sweet pepper. I've never grown this variety before. You can see the plant's definitely leafing green, but no buds as of yet. Maybe just a couple right there on top, it looks like. And then hidden back here, I have another one, which probably won't do well because it's going to be dwarfed by these cucumbers. So I'm going to have to prune them just to give this thing some sunlight. So that's that. And then as we spin around here, you can see we've actually got some tomatoes. And these are our tomatoes. Let me take a step back here. You can see the trellis I was talking about, and that trellising method has just been absolutely phenomenal. This particular section is extremely crowded right now. And let me go over why. So you can see these are the beefsteak variety tomatoes that I'm growing up on this side. I've got two different vines going. I've pruned them on purpose to have two different vines from one stalk. And then same thing going on here. I have two different vines growing from one stalk. So lots of fruit. No ripe tomatoes off of that yet, but very soon. I apologize when we're talking about the cucumbers. I didn't mention I did get one cucumber so far off of that one very nice sized cucumber. So we are making progress there. Over here is another cucumber variety. I didn't have the space to trellis it over there, so I put it over here as a test for could this trellis handle your cucumbers as well, and it absolutely can. This has been an excellent way that I would definitely recommend in the future. I'd love to dedicate a bed just to cucumbers to do this with, to get them off the ground. And this has just been really awesome. This is the actual straight 8 cucumber variety. Never grown them before, but did get one already that I've tried. A very delicious cucumber. As you can see at the bottom here, just weeds. Even with the tarp, just weeds galore. But amongst that, I've got some cucumber vines growing out. So I need to do a lot of cleaning up and pruning still here. The work's never done in the garden, but look at that beautiful straight 8 cucumber growing right there. That one's ready to be picked and eaten. Very nice. Very easy to access. I'm loving it. So, and then I have hidden amongst there another one of the tomatoes. Those are the Brandywine tomatoes. I think I said beefsteak earlier. I apologize. They're Brandywine. Absolutely delicious. Great on sandwiches. Grown them plenty of times before. Was growing beefsteak. Didn't get that much flavor out of them. The Brandywine are the way to go. Absolutely love them. Well, along with that, I've got some volunteer green beans, and you're like, wait, what? So I decided to trellis the green beans that, you know, happen to be in here. They came from either the compost or the birds brought them in, whatever, and they are climbing up the pole. Now, a lot of people will tell you that cucumbers and green beans do not mix, don't put them together. So I may end up taking them out just because they're so close to the cucumbers, and I'd rather have the cucumbers already have green beans elsewhere. On the back side here is all tomatoes, and these are the actual, they're called Wild Wonder is the actual company. They were store-bought tomatoes from a company called Wild Wonder. I threw them down as an experiment. So Wild Wonder variety is, so they're kind of a mix between a grape and a cherry tomato. So I just cut them in half and literally planted them and got a bunch of different shoots off of them. It's my wife's favorite kind of just kind of snacking tomatoes. So figured I'd give it a try. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plants here that we're trellising. And then randomly, another Pickler Cucumber. This one actually was from the winter sowing method. So I was like, well, I need a spot. Let me throw it in here. So this little trellis is supporting so much weight from all of the front row and the back row. It's just supporting all this weight. And I just prune off the suckers and let them go. And then you can see here we've got, it's like just some nice cherry tomatoes. If I had to guess, I'd say they were like the cherry 100s, but they're doing very well. These ones here doing very well, as you can see. Can't seem to get the focus. There we go. And then we have more volunteer green beans. And I need to finish mulching this bed. You can see I've got the old mulch and the new mulch kind of mixed because I didn't finish this one, along with the pumpkin bed, so on and so forth. But that is the tomato bed slash cucumber slash green bean slash anything you can trellis type of deal. And I've got some marigolds kind of hidden in between because I think marigolds do really well next to tomatoes. Yeah, can't wait to taste all those delicious tomatoes. Over here we have some orange watermelons. You can tell by the difference in the leaves. They're actually orange on the inside instead of the traditional red. And so I put them in here. I mulched this side of the bed, as you can see, but not the other side. And that was actually on purpose, and I'll explain in a minute. Out here, I've got some random pumpkins that I never planted, some grass that my son actually started in school. And so I've been kind of keeping it alive. It's pretty cool. It's like a wheatgrass. We don't drink wheatgrass, but it's cool. Got some pots started with, these are all actually peony bushes that I had in a bag for about 5 years. They were peony roots, and I decided to plant them this year, and I've got 5 out of 6 actually rooted. I gave one to my mother. So that's really cool, and they're doing really well. So I got to get those in the ground actually, so that they're in their permanent home, or I'll pot them at the very least. This is my lemon tree. It has been a little worse for wear with this up and down in the weather. I mean, we were 58 degrees last night, and today it's like 85 and humid. So it's been a strange year for gardening, but it's got new growth on it. It's doing really well. This is actually its 3rd year. It still hasn't put on any fruit yet, but I've been leaving it outside and just letting it go, and let's see what happens. I'll do some light pruning on it possibly this year, we'll see. That is just pretty much nothing. With some cut up strawberries, didn't work out. I just let things go. Sometimes stuff doesn't work out, sometimes it does. This is the Tangelos. Both of them were started from seed, and they're doing extremely well. And then we still have a bunch of watermelons. So I did 2 different watermelon plants there and a 3rd one there, kind of like trying to get them to run together. But as you can see, they're just kind of taking over and going any which way they want. But check out the excitingness. There's nothing cooler than when you see your first watermelon or pumpkin or first fruit of any plant, really. And that's cool. That's going to be a really awesome watermelon. Can't wait to that. Hopefully we have a long enough season. But with the weird weather this year, I have no idea. But this is why I did not mulch the rest of this bed. That is actually asparagus. So super excited about this. I actually planted about 3 purple asparagus and 3 green asparagus. Now it does take about 3 years to get your first harvest, but I do have at least 2 or 3 shoots in here that have shot up. And so that's why I did watermelons in here, because I can just cut them at the base and I don't have to pull them out. I didn't want to disturb the soil in this bed. So that's why we did that. And that's why I didn't mulch the top. But I did actually, asparagus needs a lot of healthy fertilizer to begin with. So you really, because you don't want to amend the bed, or not amend the bed, but churn the bed with asparagus. I actually put chicken manure mixed with compost all through this and dressed this bed. This is the only bed that I did that with this year. So, and you can see the asparagus came up there. And I've got another one in there. It's kind of hard to see, kind of in tangled, if you will. But yeah, doing really well. So there's that. Now for the bad news. So here's my potato plants, and you know, dead heat, watering, so on and so forth. This actually is a sign, generally speaking, that the potatoes are done and that they're good to go. I'm not taking it as a sign of that. I'm taking it as a sign of they probably need to be fertilized a little bit more. Next to that, I've got some strawberries in a hanging basket. They weren't actually, they were drying out. They weren't getting enough water in their hanging spot because I wasn't home. So I actually just put them near the sprinkler so they could get water, and they're bouncing back, sending out runners, doing really well. There's one of my apple trees that I grew from seed. I call it my little bonsai apple tree. It dies every year and comes back every year in the greenhouse. I leave it over winter in the greenhouse every year. I have not, it's about 3 years old now, and I have not planted it. I'll leave it in its little pot. It's my little bonsai apple tree. So I like it. Hasn't fruited yet, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. I just keep it growing like that. I don't prune it, or haven't pruned it, I should say. But I really like the root structure on it. It's one of my favorite things. That's why I call it my bonsai apple tree. Got some funky root structure. Next to that, we've got some fantastic peas. These are the sweetest peas I've ever tasted, growing these peas. I didn't have a trellis made for them, but you know, they're so good just right off the vine. And they are actually Little Marvel is the variety, and they're absolutely excellent. Right next to that, I've got some volunteer dill, and I just let that grow. This was really a very weedy thing until I just mulched it. It took me forever to weed this bed out before I mulched it. And then you can see right next to that a bunch of greens that I was growing for the bearded dragon. Again, I've got something attacking these, but not as much. I've been leaving them because I would much rather them attack this than attack the rest of my garden. And you can see here, awesome just looking leaves. So there's kohlrabi in there, there's kale, there's broccoli, there's bok choy. It's just quite a healthy greens mix. I mean, we certainly could eat these ourselves for a salad, but we don't eat a lot of salads, I'm not gonna lie. So, and then next to this, super exciting to see this one growing. I actually had 4 of these I germinated from seed. They're actually a saved seed that my kids saved from a Keuka Melon, I think it's called. Basically, it is a cross between a cantaloupe and a watermelon or something. I can't remember even, it was a year ago. And but they were really delicious, and so we saved them. I grew 4 of them. One's right here that is just now really starting to take off, even though it's been planted since I planted out the rest of the garden. And over here I've got another one, but it's just been buried by these leaves. I need to cut them back and give it some daylight. And then you can see I've got a 16-foot cattle panel trellis that I just bought. I have not finished installing yet. I got 2 of them so that I can try to get the pumpkins and the cucumbers to trellis up them, because I'll show you the pumpkins next. So just got these beds built, the concrete blocks, and so far doing very well. I thought maybe they would harm with all the heat we've had, they'd harm the actual soil, just so hot and everything, but we have not had any problems with them. In fact, you can see this pumpkin is all from one single plant. My son found a bumpy pumpkin. It's like an orange bumpy pumpkin that he wanted to grow. So we started a single seed. I guess we had 2 single seed challenges. We started a single seed, and I actually planted this one very late in the year. I want to say I planted this almost beginning of June maybe. And you can see this thing just is dwarfing every other pumpkin I have. It's insane. It's grown all the way out to the old garden there. It has these gigantic leaves. I mean, it's just enormous leaves, really cool. So you can see I've cut a couple back, and let me show you why. So I also put in here bell peppers. There's a bell pepper, there's a bell pepper, there's a bell pepper. So I originally intended in this bed to be another pepper bed, like a hot pepper bed, and the other one to be sweet peppers, if you will. And that was the intention of this bed, but I needed a place to put the pumpkin. Well, these bell peppers actually are from the winter sowing project. We actually had 3 bell peppers sprout from that winter sowing project, and just the 1 cucumber. So needed a place to put them. Hate wasting, especially bell peppers. They're delicious, right? So these are the mixed bell pepper variety, and they are right there. So I just keep cutting the leaves back to let these guys get sun, which is fine because the pumpkin plant's not going to be hurt by me cutting out just the leaves. I can leave the vine in there. And then down here is I started a Serrano pepper, and a single Serrano pepper, and there you go. It's starting to take off. But I planted it when it was low. The soil level was low, so I had to mulch around it and kind of go down on an angle, but it's okay. So I'm trying to keep the pumpkin plant away from that, and so I'm starting to try to get it to trellis, and it's so far doing it up a pretty good job on its own. You can see the tendrils have decided just to grab on, no problem. This thing is a beast of a plant. So I'm hoping to get that cucumber melon thing to go the other direction, and then I have another one of these trellises I'm going to put over there, so that way I can get the watermelon coming up this side, cucumber in that bed, the pumpkin's growing over, and then you can see looks like we've got a pretty healthy pumpkin plant already starting, fruit already starting. So that's that bed. Well, that bed was so successful, I decided to go ahead and just make another one, and had the extra bricks on hand. So, and then I put these sugar baby watermelons in here, and same thing, 2 plants on that side, 1 plant on this side, and it, or vice versa, and they are doing very well. Starting to put on some little baby fruit over there. Right there, you can barely see it, but so that one's doing really well. Well, I also thought, well, I'd like to move my June bearing strawberries from over there and get another bed going. So had a customer not pick up some strawberries, so I actually planted them in here, and at first they died off, but never give up on your plants. And so it's rooted and sending out runners, and so hopefully this bed will intertwine with some strawberries in between all this watermelon. So when the watermelon's done, we'll have a strawberry bed this year, nice and contained, next year, nice and contained. And we'll sell off all those strawberries that come up next year, and I'll show you those in a minute. Over here, this one keeps, poor little thing just keeps getting moved around the garden. This is a jalapeno pepper plant, and it is doing phenomenal as well. It's got lots of little jalapenos on it. I do love my jalapenos, and it's doing really well. So very cool. 5-gallon bucket growing. Again, still using cages on the 5-gallon bucket. I've got a habanero started inside, and somebody from the kids' school, the librarian, because my wife volunteers, gave us a different kind of pepper. I don't know the variety, but it's a heirloom seed, and I'm so excited about it. It's inside in the indoor greenhouse. I'll show you guys that. So this is basil. This is kind of my herb garden. I've got some rosemary going in here, some dill that I started that has already gone to seed. That's okay. My cilantro went to seed. Nothing you can do about it sometimes. And then these are an ever-bearing strawberry variety that I picked up this year. Fruit was very good on them. And you can see it's already sent off runners, so I'm letting this, if this becomes a strawberry bed, along with the rosemary, I'd be perfectly fine with that. Celery stalks are doing extremely well. I was nervous that they weren't going to take because of the heat, but they're doing really well. Got 4 different plants in there. I did purchase those ones. I didn't grow them from seed or cuttings or anything. These are actually purchased from a greenhouse, just like those ever-bearing strawberries were. I don't do a lot of transplants, but sometimes I will. And yeah, let me take you, that's all of my beds, believe it or not, except for the old garden. There's that other 16-foot cattle panel. I picked them up at Tractor Supply. They were only 27 bucks, guys. I mean, that's a really good price. So you can see these are all my strawberries, June bearing, so they're done fruiting for this season. I don't water this bed even in the heat, so it does look like they're dead. They're not. They're just bouncing back. A lot of volunteer marigolds, I just let those be too. My Rosa Sharon plants, I've actually got a lot of volunteer Rosa Sharons. I actually am selling those. I list them for sale just like I do all of these extra strawberries. This entire row was filled with strawberries, and so is this. So all of these strawberries are still for sale as well. Just let people know they're not going to fruit this season, but you can plant them and you have a wonderful crop next year. I've got a bunch of raspberries that just popped up. I actually had my raspberries in a container, and they actually ended up rooting out from underneath the container in the drainage holes, and this is the result. I'm now getting basically a strawberry bed or a raspberry bed where my strawberry bed was. So a lot of work to do over here to clean up. I bought another tarp that's big enough for this area, so I will be tarping this out so that I can just drive my tractor straight through here, not worry about it. But the pumpkins are now trying to take over this area. Just need to keep them off my other Rosa Sharon bush, and I'll let them go. I mean, maybe this year it's just the pumpkin patch. I do have a theory maybe of doing a raised bed right there along that window, so that way I can do like lettuces there, because that's north. That's very shaded all year long. So in the heat of the summer, lettuce would do very well there and not bolt as quickly, as my theory anyway. So let me show you a couple other quick ideas of my tour. I know this is a very long video. Thanks for hanging with me. So I'm going to do a raised bed here. Just giving myself the 4-foot clearance, but I'm going to do a raised bed here. You can see my blueberry plant there is a blue crop variety. I want to get that planted in the raised bed. All this extra wood here is to be at the bottom of the raised bed, except for the lumber will be used for the raised bed. Now this is a pink lemonade blueberry plant, and you can see, look at all the red leaves on it. It is just not doing well. It's dying, and the only thing I can understand from it is calcium deficiency is really where I think I'm at. So I am going to try Epsom salt. It's supposed to be helpful for helping the roots uptake calcium. So I'm going to do my best to try to save this one. If not, at least get it planted. I'm going to take some cuttings off of it, try to get them rooted, do my best to try to save this one. But listen, even YouTube gardeners make mistakes, and I might have lost this one, you know. All right, let me show you guys our pond area. As you can see, we just put in our new fence, so that's what we've spent a lot of time this past weekend doing. I've got to fix up the pond area as a result of it, but we're going to build a privacy fence all the way around, so we're waiting on that. But you can see the hostas are just coming in beautifully. We got a little Buddha statue my wife got for Mother's Day, just a Zen area. Waterfall's only trickling right now. I do need to clean that filter. The pond is crystal clear, but the filter gets clogged. But due to all the floating plants, some water hyacinth, some water lettuce, it just keeps this pond crystal clear. You can see there we've got some frog friends just underneath the lily pad there, just hanging out. We got 4 or 5 in there along with our goldfish and our different variety of hostas. And then our lilies are just beautiful this year. Came in so nice. Asiatic lilies, 2 different colors, just come in very nicely every year. And our hostas as well. Got a potted plant here, and it sends off these beautiful pink flowers. We've got some new shoots of it. Got to do some light pruning on this because we didn't have any rain and we weren't home to water this area. So we'll prune out those dead sticks there, but absolutely beautiful, very peaceful area here. So I mentioned I would show you guys how I'm combating these super hot days. So actually, funny enough, at our local Walmart is where I picked this one up. It is just a simple timer, and as you can see from it, it's got a couple of different settings. Gray side is basically just every day, doesn't have a specific time that I can use, set a time, but what I do is actually the yellow side, and I have it set to every 2 days for 60 minutes. So in other words, this timer actually He puts the batteries in it, and every 2 days at daybreak, so as soon as the morning, which is the best time to water your plants, it goes off and actually waters the plants for 60 minutes every 2 days. I have it set to every day on like when it's no rain in sight, but when there's rain in the forecast, I change it to every 2 days, and it's pretty awesome. So I can hear it in the morning when I wake up, just kind of going still and then finishing up. And let me show you how it's connected to the hose, and then the hose comes into the garden, and I have it on a splitter. And then the splitter is actually adjustable, so where you're letting out so much water, so on and so forth. So I have one going to this sprinkler, and yes, it's just a back and forth sprinkler, not ideal for gardens, but it's what I had at the time when I was going on vacation. And then I have the other splitter running to across this hose, and the same exact sprinkler. Now this sprinkler happens to be watering the compost pile, which is why we have that, and all these plants, and it does enough to get just inside and keep those carrots fresh. I'm not so worried about the greens, but it does keep that. So there you go, and the carrots stay fresh. So really cool in that aspect. And then the other sprinkler does enough to really get the rest of the garden. So works out really well. And yes, typically I would never recommend watering tomatoes from overhead, but doesn't have an issue. All right, so lastly, just to finish up this tour, I really wanted to show you guys the indoor greenhouse here and what we have going on, because I have a couple of cool things going on. At least I find them cool. So I do actually have this thing set on a timer still every single day, just like I did when I was germinating my seeds, if you saw those videos. And I was growing some lettuce in here. I've got some fresh seeds started I need to get going. This is that pepper plant that I was telling you about. How cool is that? It's an heirloom variety from Mexico, and it's supposed to have some very ornamental hot peppers on there. I can't think of the name of it. If I can find it, I'll put it on screen for you guys. And then this one here is my habanero that I started from seed. I had to start it twice. First one did not take, but bear in mind I got these for 50-cent seeds from the dollar store. So, And this one is a Hungarian yellow wax pepper. I couldn't get it to take. So 3 tries and it still didn't take. So, not everything does. Here's my Monstera. Wasn't doing well in the house, but it's so humid in here. I'm sweating, so I was doing really well in here. My pink Wandering Jew, and that's doing okay. And then I have these 2 pineapple tops that I started. You can see the roots are all the way down. I really need to get these planted, but that's a great thing about pineapple tops. You can just keep them in water and they will keep going. So as long as you change out the water every few days, I change them about once a week, and they're doing absolutely phenomenal. So got to get those in ground. I believe I still have one more in the greenhouse, although I didn't look at it. It might be on this video. Might not be looking so hot. Now this, so check this out, guys. Remember I showed you guys growing dandelions in this. This is just a simple 5-gallon tank. This on top here is just some cling wrap with some holes. Those are all on this side morning glories. I have not been able to get those things to germinate whatsoever. And normally I can't get them to germinate. And then these ones here are actually poppies. And so the poppies I actually did not go through a stratification period. So poppies actually need a stratification period where they're cold and then get warm. And I literally just sprinkled them on the top of this soil, and just look at that. Look at how many poppies just sprung up. So I really need to get these morning glories planted outside. I need to harden these off, obviously, and get these poppies outside. But isn't that crazy just how, and I'm talking all of this stuff germinated in 3 days. And it's been about 2 weeks now, but just look inside of there. Look at these morning glories. They're a vining plant. They really need to get out of here because they're starting to die off because they're not getting the circulation that they need. But isn't that amazing? And then the poppies are perennials, so if I can get those planted out, they should do really well. So I've always struggled, I'm not going to lie, with germinating flowers. I just have. It's been one of my struggles, and this method has just been awesome. I might try germinating seeds, period, going forward this way. Simple fish tank, clear plastic wrap, wet the soil. I've not watered this since I started these. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this garden tour. Thanks for sticking with me through it. As I mentioned, I'm not a professional gardener. I'm just somebody who gardens and likes to show you guys tips and tricks along the way. And as always, I hope you guys are staying safe and enjoying your gardens. Thanks for watching.